The Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers. One of these teams, the San Francisco 49ers, had high expectations this year, and it's really been derailed by a lot of injuries. The Falcons been very, very up and down this season, and this, unfortunately for them, was one of those down weeks. Let's kick it off by taking a look at the top 5 graded players that we had for the San Francisco 49ers as the winners of this game. Tight end Luke Farrell with a 90.8 to kick us off here. We got an elite grade. You'll love to see that, setting the tone there. Edge rusher Bryce Huff, 81.9. Offensive tackle Colton McKivitz, an 81.6. Running back Christian McCaffrey with an 81.4. Offensive tackle Trent Williams, an 81.3. And then Mac Jones in this game, who was once again starting for Brock Purdy, still missing some time with that turf toe injury, a 75.9. For the Falcons, Gator great Kyle Pitts, top of the list with a 76.5. Offensive tackle Jake Matthews, a 72.6. Center Ryan Nuzzo with a 72.0. Running back Bijan Robinson, a 69.5. Edge rusher Arnold Ebiketie rounding the top 5 out with a 68.1. And then Michael Penix Jr., their quarterback, a 59.3. Dalton, what was your stat that told the story here?
I think at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan just continues to work around the barriers that injuries mostly have given his team right now. Fred Warner is gone, and Nick Bosa's been gone, and you've just got injuries all over the place at wide receiver. But at the end of the day, what is Kyle Shanahan first and foremost? He's a genius in the run game, and because his team was able to run the football far better than Atlanta, they were able to control the pace of the game. Christian McCaffrey was the star of the show, and they won a physical, low-scoring 20-10 game against another team that can run the football well. You'll get into San Francisco's run defense, but 174 rushing yards for San Fran, 62 for the Atlanta Falcons, much higher rushing grade for the 49ers, much higher run blocking grade for the 49ers, which is really the biggest part of this, 81.3 run blocking grade for the Niners, 56.9 for the Atlanta Falcons. And to me, I think there's a couple of things about this is, A, McCaffrey, just get him the football 30 times, and usually good things are going to happen. And it's been a quiet story throughout the early part of the season is that McCaffrey has been excellent as a receiver, not quite as efficient as a runner, in large part because it was mentioned so many times on the broadcast last night. George Kittle coming back really made the difference. He's the X factor in this offense, and it's why he's I don't even think he caught a ball last night, and yet he showed you why he's the best tight end in football, because he can make an impact in the blocking game, right? And you look at, honestly, I think what stands out more to me than San Fran's offensive line is even the skill players. George Kittle, you saw Luke Farrell as their highest graded player. That's because of his run blocking. Kyle Juszczyk, even a wide receiver in Kendrick Bourne getting involved. The 49ers got 16 positively graded run blocks from their skill players. That's the third most in any game for any team this year. The most was actually Carolina last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I mentioned that part when they were playing them. So I think you got just a full team effort of, look, this Falcons team, their pass rush is much improved. The secondary is really good. They have an elite pass defense so far this year. We have to line up with extra bodies on the field in the trenches, and we have to run the football and control the pace of this game and not allow the Falcons to do the same with Bijan Robinson. Kyle Shanahan worked the schemes to a masterful level. The blocking, not just from the offensive line, from the skill players too, was awesome, and they were just a more physical team on the field and were able to milk the clock at the end of it.
Yeah, so not only were the 49ers the team that was rushing the ball better, as you noted there, they were also defending the run better. I was so impressed with the 49ers and how they were defending the run in this game. You mentioned no Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner. Anytime that's the case, you've got a great excuse to go, yep, well, we're just not going to be good this year, and that is what it is. But Robert Saleh's group, they were really fighting last night, and I thought they played very, very well. There was a play. So the Falcons only had 17 total rushing attempts in this game. Total. Not even just from their running backs. Total in this game, which is a far cry from probably where their game plan wants to be. 61.7 run blocking grade as a team. This has been known as one of the better run blocking units in the NFL over the last couple of seasons. That was their second lowest single grade game this season. I know that you know Robert Saleh very well as his time with the head coach of the New York Jets, and you know that what Robert Saleh does is really based around having 4 down defensive linemen, right? The first run defense snap that they had against Bijan Robinson, they had 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. I don't know if you noticed this last night, but I'm going through the tape this morning and I go, wait a second, is Robert Saleh changing his stripes here? Are we putting 5 on the defensive line? And we didn't. That was like the only snap where they actually did it. But I wanted to bring that up because it was funny that we actually saw that for the first one. But for the rest and the majority of the run defense snaps that the San Francisco 49ers had, it was the classic Robert Saleh type of defensive front, where it was those 4 down defensive linemen. He's sort of moving the defensive tackles in a certain way to, control the play side of the strong side of the line of scrimmage, be able to mitigate if there's extra blockers in there for tight ends or fullbacks or whatever it is. And so he's sort of changing the alignment of the defensive line, but it was basically 4 guys that were down there. So when it came to the run game, especially those, I would say, inside zones, but more so like the mid-zone and outside zone plays, the defensive line for the 49ers was fine. They were kind of getting a hat on a hat. But when you have just 4 down defensive linemen for a team that likes to run it out of some pretty heavy personnel, like the Falcons can, you're going to have more blockers than you are defensive linemen, specifically if you're just in a 4-down front. So what I was actually the most impressed with in this game is everybody else rallying to the football. You get guys like Jair Brown, D. Winters, Diamondor Lenore, Tatum Bethune, who is helping mitigate that loss of Fred Warner. He had a 76.0 run defense grade in this one. Darrell Luter Jr., a cornerback, 75.2 run defense grade. Malik Mustafa, their safety coming back, 77.1 run defense grade. They were so great at defending the run from the linebacker, cornerback, and safety groups in this game. This was a total team effort of run defense. And I think that when we think of run defense, we just think, okay, how did the defensive front do? The defensive front was fine for the Niners, but what really made the difference in this game, what really held Bijan Robinson in check, was that all of these other players were flying to the football and making solo tackles on the ball when they needed to. That was what was most impressive. You talked about a great coaching job from Shanahan when they were running the ball. I thought it was an excellent job by Robert Saleh getting his guys ready to truly defend the run as a team. That's really what made the difference for me.
And to your point, on those 17 rushing snaps for the Falcons, the 49ers only missed 3 tackles on those plays. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is those second-level defenders. Yes, they don't have an elite defensive line. This guy's playing well. Michael Williams off the edge, obviously, is a natural run defender coming out of Georgia as a rookie, but that's exactly what they're asking for, because now that Fred Warner especially is gone, there's not going to be one individual guy that can save them. They have to defend the run with all 11. They did that to a really just a great job last night. Like you mentioned, playing team football, rallying, and we already know when Bijan gets to the second level, he might be the most dangerous runner in football right now. He might be the hardest guy to tackle in football right now. They did an excellent job of that all night, really all the way around as a team. Even if you include the pass plays, they only missed 7 tackles all night. That's outstanding.
Most impressive and disappointing from you in this game?
The most impressive has to be Christian McCaffrey, I think, because look, you can say, okay, we want to be the more physical team and we need our offensive line to block well and do all that, but at the end of the day, there's only so many guys in the NFL that can take on a 31 touch load and be the best player on the field and just dominate in every way possible. Rushing, receiving, 77 rushing grade, 88 receiving grade, 31 touches, 200 yards from scrimmage, 12 first downs, plus 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're accounting for 14 first downs and touchdowns there. Christian McCaffrey, look, this was going to be the thing with their offense, is that, A, they have to be healthy. But the biggest question mark coming into the year was, do we get the MVP caliber version of Christian McCaffrey, and can he take on that workload and make it through another 17 games coming off all the injuries last year? He's done it so far in both ways, as a runner and as a receiver, and he is still, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter how many injuries on the outside they have, he's the engine of this offense. And as long as they have him and they're going to block like that, both up front and from the skill players, they're going to keep themselves in games because they can have nights running the football like this.
I'll talk about my most impressive because we both have the same most disappointing, so we'll sort of package our conversation there. But most impressive for me was Chase Lucas, another guy who is stepping up for the 49ers, given some injury, Upton Stout, not in this game, and Chase Lucas taking over as that slot defender there. 35 total snaps in this game, 80.1 overall grade. I thought Chase Lucas had a really strong preseason. I remember noticing him for some really good preseason outings a couple of months ago. But, man, he had a fantastic play on 4th and 1 with about 8 minutes left in the game. It was a 3-point game. They've got it's 4th and 1 for the Falcons. It's your gotta-have-it play. And they put Drake London in motion. They get him into the slot. And it's basically one of those things where he has some momentum to him anyways. It's a speed out because he's got the space to be able to do it, and they're just throwing it to him, and they're like, hey, we just need to gain 1 yard, let's keep this going. Chase Lucas reads it so well that he actually breaks in front of Drake London on that speed out play, which is so difficult to do. You have to be so confident and have such great anticipation to know that that play is coming, to know that you're not going to get burnt over the top, and he knew it exactly when he saw it. That was one of the plays of the game for me, in being able to have a turnover on downs there in that situation. So I thought he had a fantastic game. So amongst a lot of other 49ers players, Chase Lucas, to me, was somebody who deserves some praise. And then most disappointing, we both have Michael Penix Jr. on here. I'm going to go to you first. Thoughts on Michael Penix Jr. in this game?
It feels now like we're enough weeks into the season where we can be a little concerned, I think, about this Falcons passing game, right? And we've talked about before the offense and the way it's being run and different things like that. But also, it's just, does it feel stiff? Does it just feel like...
It feels inconsistent. And that's, I feel like the Falcons sort of, when we talk about how we view teams at this point, 7 weeks into the season, the Falcons can lose 30-0 to the Panthers one week, and then they can beat the Buffalo Bills on primetime the next week, and then they can really struggle on offense the next week against the Niners. Like that's just sort of how they are right now, and I think the pass game encapsulates that a little bit, to your point.
It just feels like there's stretches of games where their only passing production comes from either Drake London or Kyle Pitts, or one or two occasions last night, Darnell Mooney, but it just comes from ISO routes on the outside. And I know Michael Penix is known more as an outside thrower, but it felt like the middle of the field was never really threatened last night. And when you are limited to throwing outside the numbers, and that's all you do, it gets stiff because it gets one-sided. You can't work back across the backside reads, or you're just constantly hoping those guys are winning one-on-one battles. And look, Kyle Pitts won a handful of them. There's a lot of weeks where Drake London's going to win a handful of them, but there just doesn't seem to be right now, whether that's Penix executing it, and he's not been great against the blitz and standing in against pressure, whether it's him executing it or just the play calling, it doesn't feel like they attacked the middle of the field enough in this game, and everything was just so isolated to the outside that when they didn't win those one-on-one matchups, everything else kind of just shut down.
Yeah.
And I think, through 7 weeks now, we've got Michael Penix at 4 big-time throws and 7 turnover-worthy plays and a very middling passing grade. You just wonder if there's an element to where defenses have figured out this passing game to where, okay, keep it in front of us, and they're going to throw it to the outside, and let's see how many throws he can make out there, because they're just not attacking. To me, they're not attacking the middle of the field enough. Yeah. I think there's just not enough diversity in this passing game, and it feels, especially in the drop-back game, just very stiff.
You mentioned some of the one-on-one opportunities, and I felt like that was really the stat that stood out to me with Michael Penix. 3.37 time to throw against man coverage last night against the 49ers. He just didn't want to do it. I went back and I watched all of the reps where he was facing man coverage, and he was gun-shy about it. He didn't want to give his guys the chance. And obviously, man coverage, you're talking about tighter coverages anyways. You kind of have to take a little bit of a chance. You've got to bet on your guys. But that's what Michael Penix was best at Washington. Like, yeah, he could carve up zone, obviously, but giving his guys a chance deep down the sideline, even in man coverage, that's a big part of what made him such a prolific passer when he was at Washington. And he has been that at times throughout his NFL career. But last night, that time to throw average of 3.37, that just showcases how long he was holding on to the ball and how gun shy he was to give his guys a chance down the field. There was a specific rep, I cannot remember where it was in the game, but London had all sorts of space to the sideline on a deep route where he was kind of running a go route, but you could see him looking back at Michael Penix. So if Penix fires it more towards the sideline, London would have had time to adjust and get over there, and he would have given him a chance to go get the ball. He just doesn't throw it. He kind of panics and then tries to throw it to the check down, the guy in the flat, and then I think it ended up being an incomplete pass. But that sort of encapsulated, to me, Michael Penix's night, in that he just wasn't willing to take those risks as much as he had been in the past. And I think he needs to in order for this passing offense to look the way that it has to for them to win football games.